Well, hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 90. It is Wednesday, February the 2nd. We are talking today about the 2022 Challenge of the Americas opening weekend, a Musselman Honda circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Again, a full dive into the program. Rob Howden alongside David Cole here. Those of you who are tuning in, hopefully you've listened to it, potentially downloaded it to your EKN Radio Network app, listening to it on the way to work, whatever it may be. But again, kind of wrapping up our coverage, our EKN Trackside Live coverage of the opening round of the challenge out in Arizona. This week's show presented by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. All right, David Cole, we're in. We'll wrap up our coverage from the Challenge of the Americas. It was great to get back out to the program. 15th edition of the Great Series, our 10th straight year that we've been working with Andy Saisman and the crew.
11.
Bottom line,
11.
What?
11.
11?
Yes.
I was saying 10 all weekend.
No, it's 11.
Jesus.
We started in 2012.
So the 11th year.
Because we've done 10. Yes, this started the 11th year. Sorry.
Well, the bottom line is this: it was minus whatever. I think it was -7 back here in Cambridge for a lot of the weekend. I know it was in the negative. Well, probably not in the negatives, but it was freezing cold in Michigan as well too. We were in the right place. It was freezing cold in Daytona. We weren't in Florida. The right place to be this past weekend was Tucson, Arizona.
Well, I don't know, because those California guys, they did not like the wind that was bustling around and the cold temperatures at night. So I guess for us Northerners and those not in Daytona, yeah, Tucson had way better weather than those two locations.
It worked for Saisman. They sold out. I think of all the brand new, they have all the brand new gear for the challenge, the 15th season, their new swag, all their beanies, their sweatshirts. I think they sold everything out.
So, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right?
They all the warm clothing was sold out. That's a given. You saw everybody representing their warm clothes on all the gear, all the team gears, and yeah, so that's a positive on the weather. And it wasn't so much the actual weather; it was just wind. I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. It was near 60 miles per hour winds at certain points on Friday. Thankfully, it went down. It was not as terrible on Saturday, and then Sunday was a more normal weather day in Tucson, with temperatures getting near the 70 degree and no wind whatsoever.
And the temperatures were actually pretty, like they were. It wasn't like it was 50 degrees during the middle of the day. The one day, it's that wind factor, right? Like Sunday felt like the middle of summer. It was awesome.
It's the wind chill. The sun was out all 3 days, so that wasn't an issue. There was no clouds in the sky whatsoever. It was the wind chill brought it down, made it feel like you were in a cold weather climate for sure.
So let's lay out the overview for you folks. Here's the kind of baseline. Again, the Challenge of the Americas into its 15th season, as we said, 3 doubleheader weekends, one at the end of January, end of February, end of March, the finale up at Sonoma. January 28th to the 30th, the round we're talking about here today. Musselman Honda circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Not a track that gets used a lot. SCUSA Pro Tour has been there. They've had a lot of major races there. Obviously, the Challenge has been there many times over the last decade.
Stars of Karting was brought up a bunch.
Exactly right. Yeah, another Pro Series. It's not Phoenix. It's another 2 hours down the road when you're coming from California, but it is easily, and I've said this before many times, did on the weekend, one of the best race tracks I think that we have in North America. Always races well. And again, David, we'll talk about this later. No red flags throughout the weekend. It really races clean because the way you pass somebody is making moves down the inside, because fast way around some of these sweeping corners is a wider arc, wider entry into the corner. It opens up the inside. It allows for a lot of great racing. So the bottom line is we had some tremendous racing. First 2 rounds of the 6-round championship goes in the books. The series that started back in 2008. David, you mentioned the sun. It was gorgeous, really. The skies themselves, blue skies, a little bit of cloud all weekend. Heavy winds on Friday and Saturday, like you said. But all in all, I think everybody just super excited to get back to the racetrack. And even with the challenges with the weather, it was just a great atmosphere in the paddock. Everybody was there. Let's get the season started on the West Coast. Let's have some fun. I thought the atmosphere was tremendous.
That's something you expect, and something you are gonna is going to happen when you go to the challenge races. That's something we've talked about over and over again, is the atmosphere of the challenge paddock. It's again, you go to different events, you have different feels. You go to a club race, it has a different feel than a regional race. Regional races have different feels than what a national event does. And even the national events, each one you go to always has a different feel, because you have the different staff members, you have different from sometimes, you have different teams, not always the same teams are at all the different events. So you have that different feel, that different, as you said, atmosphere. And that's something that, the challenge has always been about, is it's relaxed atmosphere. It's very competitive on the racetrack, but off the racetrack, it's very relaxed. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's happy to be at the racetrack itself.
Yeah, and let's be real. It's a bit of a different approach too. Yeah, we're still racing after some big prizes, right? The tickets to the Rock Cup Super Final at South Garda, that's always up for grabs. This is a series that is continuing to grow, though. He's hitting some record numbers. Did last year over the 15 years, but it's not. This is not a series where we're looking at 220 people. 220 drivers yet, right? It's last year, I think a couple of years, we've got to the mid 40s, 150. So a smaller field to the race kind of brings the pressure down. It's not, we don't have the 40 kart fields all the way across the board, hence a little easier to probably not have red flags. You don't have as many drivers going head to head on the racetrack. Still, the year-on-year growth for the challenge has been very impressive since going to the Rock Cup USA program. And that's one thing we always have touched on. It's been kind of a 10% growth year on year. Started back in 2021, the start of last year's program in Phoenix, 130 entries. We had 132 entries actually on the docket, so there was a little bit more growth for Tucson. A couple drivers pulled out, ended up being 129 entries in total. But really the key when you're talking about the growth of the series was comparing Phoenix to Tucson. Phoenix is a lot, they have the club program there. So it's a lot of regular, local racers. It's also 2 hours closer to SoCal, like we talked about. And that, I know a couple of teams probably would have came had it not been for Tucson. But for Tucson to be essentially the same, if not a couple extra drivers more than PKRA at the start of last year, that's a big win. You have to factor in the concept that Tucson isn't as big of a draw because of the drive, and maybe because of the lack of some of the facilities. It's still one of the greatest racetracks, I think, track-wise in North America. But still, 129 entries for the opening weekend. That bodes really well for Phoenix at the end of February.
Really what it is, it's the growth from Tucson in 2 years ago. It was 107 that year, and it was all the same categories, so nothing different. All the same categories. So 107 to 129, that's in 2 years. That's a good growth. That's what you want to see.
Yep.
When you keep going back to a racetrack, like when we go back to PKRA, we would like to be above that 130 mark that we set last year. So that's where the growth is. Yeah. So you can't, again, you can kind of compare the two openers from last year and this year, but really you want to grow from at the facility that you've been at. So again, like a Cal Speed, if the series goes back next year, it's, hey, we need to be above that 2021 mark that was set as a record. So that's kind of where you want to go by facility, because again, like you said, Tucson doesn't have a club you can draw numbers from. It's just
exactly.
It's all, everybody is all traveling there. There's no locals. There might have been one local driver, I think, out of the entire 129 entries. So that's the challenge you have with Tucson, to where Phoenix, you are going to pull some drivers that are going to do a one-off with you and maybe go to another race possibly. So where Sonoma, they never leave Sonoma, or a lot of them don't. So
agreed. Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
So let's look at the numbers. 129 we said for Tucson. Some of the high water marks. The biggest class actually was the junior 100cc category at 28, senior 100cc at 22, and I think that does, again, we talked about this in the Outlap podcast. A lot of people on the West Coast have moved to this 100cc program away from the 125cc liquid cooled tag program. And the challenge is seeing that good numbers in 100cc, and then David, horrible, well, not almost an absence of numbers, complete absence of numbers in the Rock GP classes, Senior Rock and Junior Rock. I think it was one Senior Rock entry he ended up moving, and a couple of Junior Rock entries. One ended up moving, one stayed, and just ran by himself, essentially to try to get the ticket, I guess, to go to the Rock Cup Super Final. So it's a shift. It's a West Coast thing. It's a weird deal. We're just not seeing 125cc tag drivers running the West Coast right now.
Well, yeah, and it's probably due to costs and maintenance and just the fact of, there's not a lot of the rock races that are on the West Coast yet. You have the Challenge and you have the California Rock Championship, but aside from clubs or any other programs, then there's not very many that are utilizing the Rock engine platform. So when you go to the 125, we know it's a lot more costly than the 100cc program. So I think, it makes sense for people that have the opportunity to go back and forth between a Rock and IAME to just go at the 100cc side of things. So I think that's what you're seeing there. There's still engine rental programs out there.
Numbers breed numbers.
And again, numbers breed numbers. Right? Yes. So we know the senior 100cc field were big. Last year, the junior category kept growing. There was a number of drivers that were brand new to the Challenge in that category. We even saw even more new names in the junior 100cc category to make it the biggest it is now, biggest of the weekend. So again, it's just, it's the ebb and flow of karting, it shifts one way and then 5 years later, it's going to shift another way. We can almost guarantee that it's going to shift in 2027.
I got three more bits I want to hit here as we look at by the numbers right now. You talk about ebbs and flows moving up and down. Micro Rock and Mini Rock. Last year there was 21 total in the cadet category, 6 in micro, 15 in mini. This year 22 in the cadet, so up 1, but we went down a little bit in Micro Rock to 4, but up 3 in Mini Rock. A couple of drivers, of course, graduating up from micro to mini. The continued growth of Micro Rock is going to help feed things, but 18 drivers in the Mini Rock, all told, just a couple of guys moving up. That Mini Rock field was great, and not only was it great, when we get into the actual race report, the wheel-to-wheel racing was fantastic.
Yeah, I would say Mini Rock and Junior 100cc had probably the best races of the weekend to kind of, looking at it from the outside in. Those were probably the two best categories for racing on track. And you mentioned the number of graduates. All the Micro Rocks, I think, that raced last year have either moved up or moved on. And so all 4 drivers in the Micro Rock division this past week, when we're all brand new to the program.
Great
so
point.
That's a positive.
Agreed. The other thing I want to touch on, and I did a little bit over the weekend in the play-by-play, is the 100cc Masters class. We talked about 100cc growing. We know the junior doubled, more than doubled from the opener last year. 13 in PKRA, 28 juniors this year. Senior falling down a little bit, 31 to 22. But Masters, I think back a couple of years ago when I was able to run at Sonoma at the finale with Jimmy Gregory, and Jimmy was the only driver running in the Masters class that year. I came out and played. Calvin Chen came out. One of the local drivers came out and ran. We had 4 or 5 that weekend. It's grown to 9. David, this is when you start getting that critical mass where people say, hey, you know what? I got an opportunity to go run Masters. I'm not going to be running against myself. I wouldn't be surprised to see 12 to 15 drivers next year. And hopefully we see some more in Phoenix as well. I love the 100cc package for the Masters drivers. I think it's easier on your body. It's easier on the weekend. I still see Masters growing on the West Coast and with Andy's program.
It's actually 11. That's a misprint on my number there.
Right.
Not sure why I had that. I think I confused that with the other Masters category. So I'll double check, make sure I got my spreadsheet correct in that. But yeah, the growth there, that's, again, we've talked about it with the senior and junior levels. It's almost the same in the Masters division, where you're seeing a number of drivers moving over to that 100cc rank. We still see the same guys in the Masters Rock division that we've seen for the last 11 years at the Challenge.
That's right.
So yeah, that's where we're getting a number of new drivers to the Challenge, and even some drivers coming back and going into the 100cc category, even double duty like a David Pergande.
I was just going to say that.
Luke Tracy.
Exactly, dude. Exactly right. That's good. And the other thing I want to touch on, obviously, is the shifter category. The rock shifter has obviously been strong in the West Coast program and the East Coast program, rather, Florida Winter Tour. Still strong here as well. We ended up having 19 rock shifters, down just one from last year, but up 3 in the master shifter rock category. Guys are liking the package. They're having fun with it. 17 drivers in shifter masters rock, 19 in the shifter rock category. To cap things off with shifter rock, it's always obviously fun. I love having the shifters as a final class. That Formula One style standing start. Away we go, and the racing was great. We had a good battle between Kyle Wick and Hunter Pickett. We'll talk more about that too. But just the shifter rock program still strong with Andy's deal, and I'm sure it'll be good on the California Rock Championship as well.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get to 20 in both of those categories. Unfortunately, we did not. We got close with 19 in shifter rock and 17 in shifter rock shifter masters. So I think PKRA could be the same amount of numbers, if not more, and then hopefully Sonoma will even top that. Although we had some conversations with some of the rock shifter drivers that they might not be in Sonoma due to testing for other events. So maybe that'll change as the season goes along. But it's still great racing in those categories. And that's, shifter kart racing is a unique part of the sport. Again, something that was really developed in the West Coast and then moved across the country. So again, that's still where we want to see the shifter numbers is on the West Coast. That's where we see a lot of them. And the East Coast is catching up. They're right there, especially in the talent level. Again, you go coast to coast, there's a number of top drivers in the shifter kart ranks in both senior and masters.
All right, folks, we're underway with episode 90 of the EKN Debrief as we take a deep dive into the 2022 Challenge of the Americas Open, of the event this past weekend at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Stay with us. When we get back, we'll jump into the Paddock Pass. It all started in 1994 when former successful kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Fast forward 20 years, and Parolin's passion for the sport led to the company rejoining international competitions as a factory team in WSK and CIK FIA races, with the aim of enhancing the research and development process, immediately achieving notable results around Europe, North America, and Asia, becoming the CIK FIA Asia Pacific KZ champion in the same year. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all of the major Superkarts USA and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2021 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior classes, and the 28mm mini kart for the cadet classes. Parolin has been winning races all over the world, and it's on top of the podium in the USA as well, with drivers like Kai Sorensen, Mateus Orjuela, and Alessandro De Tullio. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. Welcome back to episode 90 of our EKN Debrief, our race report podcast, part of the EKN Trackside Live program. Jumping now into the Paddock Pass, where we discuss some of the stuff that happened away from the track a little bit. This edition of the Paddock Pass is brought to you by OTK USA. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the US, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. From the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, and EOS chassis, and now the new Gallard and Lando Norris brands, OTK quality is second to none. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, EOS, Gallard, or LN Kart, visit www.otkusa.com. All right, David, we talked about this from the very get-go, and so, of course we would. 15th anniversary for the challenge. Andy's enjoying it. This thing started again 15 years ago with the Gators Cup, moved into, obviously with Rotax, the big years of Rotax, issues with Rotax, kind of reinventing itself under the Rock Cup USA program. All in all, I think the 15 years of the challenge really kind of is, when you look at it, you see the focus on the drivers and then the evolution into a new engine platform.
Yeah, it's evolved just like the rest of the sport. Again, the one thing though that hasn't is the people, and I think that was kind of the focus, and that's kind of going to be the focus for the 15th season. They've had a number of individuals that have been with the program since the beginning or have left and come back, and it's really it's the staff, it's the people who take control and do the jobs that need to be done that help make the program so successful and what has kept the program going for the 15 seasons. And so, it's good. It's again, great to get back to Tucson with the Challenge family and see them again. And again, we talk about it, the atmosphere, the fun side of the sport, just being together and again, providing a great product that is the racing series of Challenge of the Americas.
As we get into the new 2022 season, one of the things we're seeing coming up is some new chassis coming out, right, in the homologation year. We had a chance to sit down with Gary Carlton for a new Tent Talk show that we did on Friday night. GFC, the first one, a lot of work being done, and we're working on an article. I'm working with Gary to come up with the article that is kind of the overview of all the changes. He showed me a list of all the stuff that they did. Really aggressive on making some changes to the GFC car. Number one, the new chassis, all the new material kind of landing here. The same thing with the livery and a new brand, not same brand, that black and white, but a different look on the livery this year for GFC. That was one of the big things away from the racetrack for GFC was the new the decal kits and of course the new chassis primarily.
Yeah, again, the primary look, the new livery with the new graphics and of the cart, that's kind of the first thing that catches your eye. Obviously, all the little details and minute changes, that's something that Gary himself is really and really the racers and the mechanics and everybody on their GFC and Formula Works tent. That's their passion. That's the live your passion type mentality of getting these changes. So that way, the carts are going to do what they're wanting it to do. And even, just moving the shifter lever this way or, all the different changes that they've done to again, make the chassis its own, make the brand its own, really is the passion that they have, for the brand.
Yeah, this is really Gary kind of pulling back on all the experience he had over his years running in Europe as a factory driver, the development work he did for a number of different brands and being able to now bring that to his own GFC brand. And then, you make the launch, you have your chassis, you do all the work coming out of the gate. Well, now that he's kind of solidified where he is and what he does, Sonny Cervelli on board full time. Now he's got this program together where he can really kind of go to work on developing the chassis the way he wants. And I think this year is going to be a really strong year for GFC. Once we get into the race report, you're obviously going to, see the success they had this past weekend. Well, so again, big things for GFC.
And that goes back to his early days when he was with Track Magic. Again, That was American-made chassis where they actually built the chassis in-house. They would build it, take it to the racetrack, test it, go back to the shop, change it, cut it, re-weld it, add pieces, do this and that. That is how he began. That's where really his love and desire to tune and test and find, just all the little minute little different changes. Like that's what drives Gary Carlton. And again, like you said, when he went to Europe, that just further enhanced, all the different opportunities and vision that he had regarding the sport and the technical aspect of karting.
GFC, not the only brand dropping new equipment, new material at the challenge. CRG, of course, obviously with a lot of shipping issues we have. We talked to Ron White and you and Jeffrey at Ron White Racing, and they literally had the carts drop. I think like they put them together when they were at the track, if I'm not mistaken, right? Right, Dave?
Yeah, no, they got them Wednesday. I want to say it was Wednesday night, and finished everything Thursday morning, so that way they could get them ready for on track. And yeah, so it was a little bit of chaotic work for them, but they were able to get things done. And yeah, great to see you and Jeffrey back in the States and with representing CRG Factory and CRG Nordam, helping out the Ron White Racing program throughout the weekend. Again, Ron got back behind the wheel. That was cool to see. With something he didn't do too much last year. So great to see him, a former series champion, back behind the wheel.
Well, I think obviously first and foremost, when you drop a chassis like that, you get the carts together. You don't want to hit the track running, and they did. Kevin Woods, the defending champion in the Masters Shifter Rock, was in the fight all weekend long. Qualified on the pole, was not able to get a race win, but obviously the CRG chassis were rocking. Same with Ryan Martin and Ron White, as you said. Those guys were battling up front. Ryan was in the position for a podium in the Sunday main event for Rock Shifter contact in the final lap. He ends out of the race. But yeah, to me, number one, carts were performing. The new CRGs were fast. They were where they needed to be, and I think they're going to be great in Phoenix. And I'll say this right now, they look good. The new graphic package and everything, and the way that cart is finished, those CRGs were some of the prettiest carts on the track on the weekend, I think.
Yeah, they've definitely improved. I think the prior liveries were kind of, they didn't really stand out as much as what they do now, I think. And that, the body work, getting the larger fairings, I think that's helping a lot of these carts kind of stand out with depending on their graphics package. That helps. The nose pieces are very similar to what they've been, but again, it's that unique look. Again, GFC's doing that with their livery, and I think the new CRG livery, probably one of the best I've seen in the past decade.
Yeah, I like it. Obviously, the Challenge of America is a big part of the Rock Cup USA program. Florida Winter Tour in the East, the Challenge of the Americas on the West that leads into the California Rock Championship. Garrett Potter from Rock Cup USA was actually on hand, making sure that kind of being part of it, right? Good customer service, being there to talk to the racers in the Rock Cup program. It was good to have Garrett trackside.
Yeah, he typically makes the trip over for Challenging the Americas. It's based in Utah now. It's a quick little plane ride for him to come down and to again represent Rock Cup USA. Make sure teams and competitors have the ability to ask questions or comment on things, and again for him to help oversee the products with all the different engine models that are there with the Swift, or I'm sorry, the mini and micro rock versions, and then of course the shifter engines, and then the GP, along with VLR that is certainly gaining ground, as we saw with record numbers in the junior rock division.
Yeah, you're right. That's one of the things about the challenge. Still, you can run both the VLR 100 and the KA 100, and as David said, we saw a lot more drivers in the junior category. All right, folks, let's go to another quick break. When we get back, it's time to dive into it. Let's tell you exactly what happened. We'll have our race reports for class by class after this. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the U.S. market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new VEN 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. Drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With four-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2022 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program. As a stepping stone onto the road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, Anderson Promotions will debut a new series next season that will provide the ultimate opportunity for driver development for karting's career-minded racers. The new USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 16-race schedule to train racers for the move into the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. The champion will win a scholarship worth over $200,000, and the total prize fund will exceed $325,000. Next year, the series will utilize the current HPD-powered Ligier JS chassis, and a brand new car with a Halo-type device will be introduced in 2023. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. Welcome back to the new episode of our EKN Debrief. Rob Howden alongside David Cole as we now get ready to jump into the race report of the opening round of the 2022 Challenge of the Americas. We were in Tucson, Arizona this past weekend at the Musselman Honda Circuit. Time to have a look at the drivers in Rock Shifter and I believe Masters Rock Shifter. This race report brought to you by Parolin USA. It all started in 1994 when former kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to his small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all major Superkarts USA, USPKS, and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2022 includes the Invader Shifter, the Le Mans Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior drivers, the 28mm Opportunity model for the drivers in the cadet classes, and the Daytona 4-cycle chassis. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. All right, David, we've got Rock Shifter and Master Shifter lined up for this first segment of the race report. I'll throw the headline out. Let's get to work. Here's the headline for Rock Shifter. Wick brings double wins for iconic Track Magic brand.
That's exactly it. You know, it was a near perfect weekend for Kyle Wick, performing a sweep on Saturday in all the on-track sessions, leading qualifying, winning the pre-final, and then winning the main event. Challenged all day long, however, by his GFC teammate Hunter Pickett, a former series champion as well. So the top two drivers that we talked about coming into the weekend really showed the way all weekend long. Wick was able to pull off a wire-to-wire win in both the pre-final and final to score the sweep on the day. Pickett only 0.3 off in the main event. It was a GFC 1-2-3 on the podium. Jacob Gulick ended up finishing in the third position. Kyriakis Soukis making his shifter kart debut on the Alex Keys Racing EOS chassis, finishing fourth. And then, as we talked about, Ryan Martin having a good opening round, finishing in fifth on the CRG.
Yeah, for those who are not really up to date on the Track Magic brand, this was a brand back in the late 90s or the 90s and 2000s that was, again, American-made chassis like David talked about. Now the Track Magic really the color branding on the GFC program under the GFC tent. So when we talk Track Magic, we're actually talking GFC as well. As David said, another 1-2-3 for Gary Carlton and the crew there with Wick, Pickett, and Gulick. All in all, David, a really tremendous run for all those drivers. Wick, I was super impressed. Came off the line strong, getting the hole shots. Was able to get the lead early. Pickett put the pressure on like crazy. You mentioned Jacob Gulick in the outlap. He has really kind of dialed things in. But we should take a little time to talk about Kyriakos Soukas. Here's a guy that had just done a little bit of testing before he came in. I think he was surprised. The family was surprised by how well he did. But you and I have had a chance to talk about him through the challenge over the last couple of years. And he's a talented young driver who obviously has that natural ability, jumps into a shifter, and was running right there with the big dogs all weekend long.
Yeah, certainly was, and it made a pretty good statement. And again, making his debut race, only, as you said, only had a few sessions on track with the shifter program. Obviously, has done a lot of single speed racing, both in the Rock GP category along with the 100cc division. So, and also doing double duty on the weekend. So to go from the 100cc package to the shifter all weekend long, back and forth, that certainly shows the talent that is Soukas.
One of the things we'll bring in this particular edition of the Debrief podcast is there is points for fast time in the main events. So one of the things we'll add in there. So it gets these guys pushing throughout the main events. Although Wick getting the victory, David, it was actually Hunter Pickett with a fast time of 48.088. So a little bonus point there for Pickett to stay close to Wick heading to Phoenix.
Yeah, that certainly helped make it so where Wick was not able to score maximum points in the opening round, scoring that fast time in the main event. So again, just every little bit, and that's something we've seen at the Challenge in the Americas. Every little point matters, especially fast lap points, because you think about it, 6 rounds of racing, you get that fast lap bonus points. That's an extra 30 points towards your final total.
That's it. On Sunday, again, Kyle Wick coming out the gate and qualifying, put it on the pole position, won the pre-final as well. That said, in the pre-final, Pickett actually was able to go to the lead. He was actually pretty quick and was there with him and made a pass for the lead, although Wick was able to come back at it, right?
Yeah, it looked like there was a missed shift for Pickett. So Wick was able to jump back up to the lead and take the win. Main event was very similar with Pickett grabbing the whole shot, and until Wick again came back and was able to get by Pickett to take over the lead, and then from there essentially led the remainder of the race to the checkered flag. So again, another 1-2 finish by Wick and Pickett on Sunday.
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit about the contact with Ryan Martin potentially going for P3 on the podium for Sunday. They were racing on the final lap with he and Ryan Martin and Jacob Gulick were going at it. Gulick got to the inside coming through turn number 5, which is the right-hander that leads into the S's section, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And they were kind of side by side from where I could see it. I'm not sure if there was a final call in terms of a penalty on that one, but from what I could see, they were coming out of the 5, kind of going wide. They kind of made some contact coming into the apex of 6 before they got there. I don't know if Gulick was kind of pushing Martin out a little bit. They hit wheels. Gulick was up on top of Martin. They both went off the outside of turn number 6. Didn't even make it to the apex, the entry to the S's, and that's what brought Warwang Kamarakul up into the 3rd spot, as he had a good battle with Micah Hendricks throughout the day. So Wick ends up getting the win by 4/10. Pickett 2nd, Kamarakul on the podium for 3rd. Another 1-2-3 for GFC. Micah Hendricks on the Croc Promotions ends up in 4th spot. And with Gulick, I don't think Martin wasn't able to continue. Gulick was, but Ronnie White then, who came from deep in the field after initiating the pre-final, finds himself up P5.
Yeah, amazing drive by White to power his way through. Again, posting lap times very similar to both Wick and Pickett throughout the main event. Gulick ended up actually finishing in the 9th position as he was able to continue on, while Ryan Martin was not, and ended up finishing 14th overall in the final classification. So yeah, not the finish Ryan Martin wanted, but again, just racing contact, both drivers going for the same spot, really doing the over under, and it just they just happened to connect, and it was Gulick on top of Ryan Martin's right side pod. So that was not exactly the way they wanted to end their Sunday.
Dave, was there a penalty on that at all? Did they call any kind of a penalty?
As far as I know, no. Like I said, Gulick was able to continue on, cross the line in 9th position, and no penalties handed out.
big. I know that Mark Michion was probably standing right there too, kind of where he was positioned was in that spot where they were coming out of turn number 5. So, out of 5. So, I'm sure he was looking at it like we all were. And again, we'll cap off Rock Shifter with another fast time in the main event for Pickett. Just wasn't able to get by Wick to get the victories, but the speed was there for Hunter Pickett.
Yeah, no, speed was there all weekend long for both Pickett and Wick. Again, it just a matter of who was quickest at the end of the races, and that ended up being Wick in both days. But Pickett able to score those fast lap bonus points. So again, there's 10 bonus points towards the championship for Hunter Pickett.
All right, let's go to Rock Shifter Masters. Here's the headline: McNeil stamps return with 2 victories.
Yeah, Jimmy McNeil, for many who are not familiar, is a longtime Masters driver, dating back to the 2010s, I want to say, early teens.
Yeah, started the Pro Tour, right?
Well over a decade ago, was among those top. I believe he has 3 Super Nationals victories in the Masters division. So, and again, we've seen him at the Challenge before. I want to say it was possibly 2019 or 2020 that we last saw him at the Challenge, and certainly was quick then. And so it's been a little bit since we saw McNeil, but this was his coming back party for sure. Scoring victories on the weekend. Saturday was Kevin Woods to open up the day, scoring fast time in qualifying and winning the pre-final. A little bit of racing early on in the main event between Woods and Cliff Cuella. A little contact in turn 4 on lap 9 that actually sent Woods out into the dust and out of the race while Cuella continued on. That opened the door for Jimmy McNeil to slide by both of them through the contact, and from there was unchallenged to the checkered flag to score the main event victory.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that happen. I was looking down at the laptop, came back up, and all of a sudden I'm trying to find Kevin Woods, and he was gone. Finally able to find him kind of over the hill, hiding in among the bushes after going off the racetrack. Being told it was essentially kind of a Cuella made a move, Woods tried an over-under, and actually Woods made contact with Cuella. I think he actually got a penalty for the contact, put him off the racetrack. Woods was strong all weekend long. We'll talk about what he did on Sunday as well. McNeil, as you said, ends up going away to the win. Nick George ends up in second. So it was an Illuminos 1-2 for McNeil and Nick George. Cliff Cuella ends up in third. Jonathan Vitolo had a good weekend overall on the Track Magic. He finishes fourth after a race-long battle with Fernando Diaz. But I'll tell you, David, it was good to it was having Team Visalia back, right? With Jimmy McNeil, Nick George. The crew was there to be part of the action. Daryl Tunnell was wrenching on Jimmy McNeil's ride as well. It was just cool having those guys back on the track, and that helped pump up the field, as we know, in the Rock Shifter Masters class.
Yeah, again, the atmosphere, that's what you come for, the racing, and that, that's the reason they're there. They're there to have a good time and have fun and be fast out on the racetrack. So really a coming back party for both McNeil, Vitolo, and Diaz, a number of names that we've seen in the past that are coming back. So again, karting, it has a cycle, for some reason you just can't get away and it'll bring you back. And so great to see Diaz and McNeil come back with strong starts on Saturday along with Vitolo.
Yeah, most definitely great to have the Team Visalia crew back with us for sure. Let's move on into the Sunday action now. Kevin Woods, as we had said, the defending champion on the CRG for Run White Racing. Great all weekend long. Like on Saturday, David, he qualifies on pole and wins the pre-final as well.
Yeah, again, just not the luck in the main event. The whole shot actually went to Nick George from the outside of the what I believe was the front row. There might have been P3 if I recall.
P3. I think he came from the second row.
I think Woods got a little bit slowed down. I think he actually pulled up some of the racetrack as he launched away. But so George was able to get by with McNeil following him through. That dropped Woods back to the third position. And then eventually on lap 2, McNeil took over the top spot. And from there, it was all McNeil leading the rest of the way to the checkered flag for a 1.3 second margin of victory.
Yeah, Kevin Woods holding on to get that second position. George in third. Vitolo, another good run. Vitolo actually looked pretty good there midway through the race. I was wondering whether or not he was actually going to be able to roll up and potentially get by and maybe go challenge McNeil, because at one point Vitola was putting down the purple laps. He was the fastest guy on the racetrack a number of laps throughout that main event.
Yeah, he was. He looked to be the charger. He looked like he was the guy about mid-race that had the pace to kind of put on the heat and possibly be able to come up and challenge. But actually, it was Kevin Woods on the last lap of the race to lay down a monster lap of a 49.146, nearly a tenth quicker than any other lap. Well, actually, Vitola was then a 49.196, so got him by 0.05 of a second to grab the fast lap of the race and get those 5 bonus points. So a little bit of help there for Woods coming off of the DNF on round 1. So that'll help him maybe possibly count that round one as his drop and get actually leaving with the most points on Sunday thanks to those bonus points.
Yeah, and again, it's the points in qualifying and the points in the pre-final. Even with the bad finish on in race number 1 on Saturday, he still has all those points from qualifying on the pole and winning the pre-final. So it's not the worst result. It'll be his drop right now. He'll focus on it as his drop, but it's still a possibility. If he has some other issues, he may have to pull round 1 back into it. Bottom line is another good run for McNeil. He wins both races, and we'll give a shout out to Fernando Diaz as well. Coming back, as you said, David, and 2 top 5s, pretty solid in a pretty strong field.
Yeah, not bad for the old guy coming back. Again, he's probably got to be in that Supermaster range along with McNeil, and I think even Woods possibly is creeping up on that. So something we're seeing nationally, a lot of the young guns coming up to the Masters rank, but on the West Coast, there's still a number of those fast old guys that can battle pretty good.
That's a good moniker. Fast old guys. I'll take that. I think Ronnie White's in there too.
Ron. Well, he's still a younger Masters driver, but he hasn't quite moved that up to that Masters rank yet.
That's funny. All right, folks, stay with us. When we get back, we're going to talk about the 100cc categories. We're going to jump into senior 100cc and junior 100cc. The Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is where out-of-the-box ease and outstanding consistency meet to create legendary races. Briggs & Stratton's history in motorsports dates back to when the first engines came off the assembly line in the early 1900s. Their focus on the grassroots level continues to help build generations of racers. Since 2008, the Briggs & Stratton 206 has gained a following that has the engine powering the largest fields in North American karting today. From the club level of track programs to traveling regional series and national events, Briggs & Stratton competition provides the most exciting racing in the sport. Engineered and hand-built exclusively for racing, every Briggs & Stratton 206 engine is power tested and serialized before it goes in the box. Karters can take that engine straight from the box to their kart and be on the podium at the end of race day. Be sure to follow Briggs & Stratton Racing on Facebook and through @RaceBriggs on Instagram. To learn more about the 206 engine or to find the North American dealer near you, head to BriggsRacing.com. Briggs & Stratton Racing, what powers you? Looking for that extra edge? Comet Racing Engines is your answer. The engine service program from Comet Kart Sales has been winning from coast to coast at all levels and different forms of the sport. Lead engine builders Mark Harrison and Gary Lawson have decades of karting experience, providing racers the power to reach the top step of the podium. Comet Racing Engines continually perform track and dyno tests to provide their customers with the cutting edge in engine performance. Comet specializes in Yamaha KT100, IAME Swift, IAME X30, IAME Leopard, and Rock engines. Trackside and customer support are the cornerstones of the Comet Racing Engines business, ensuring each and every customer receives personal attention and the help they need to achieve the best results. Engine rentals are available at all the events that Comet attends in 2018, including WKA, SCUSA, USPKS, and the Route 66 Sprint Series. Contact the Comet team today at cometkartsales.com or by calling 317-462-3413. If you're looking to step up your engine program, send it to Comet Racing Engines. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode number 90, as we talk about the recent race, the opening round of the Challenge of the Americas at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole. This race report brought to you by Parolin USA. And David, let's go into the 100cc senior category. Here's the headline: Drew outguns challengers for double win weekend.
You see what I did there? Drew, get it? Draw. Sorry, I just had to say it.
Listen, when you have to explain it, it's not good.
I
enough,
know, David. I know, but I just wanted to add that comment because I thought it was so good. I thought it was so good.
I appreciate you. I'm impressed, Dave.
We got to have some banter back and forth. We can't just talk about the racing.
So all right, so out of the gate, again, this is another driver we've watched throughout the weekend. Kyriakos Soukas qualifies on the pole position. If I'm not mistaken, it was Soukas and his teammate Jacob Hoover. They were running the VLR package, right? Were they not all weekend?
They were. I do have the list of drivers that were running that. Again, it's not in the results, so we can talk about that. It was actually, however, though, Jake Drew, who set fast time in qualifying. Oh no, he wasn't. Sorry, he was fourth. We'll talk about him later.
We haven't brought this up. There was a little bit of tech stuff that happened on Saturday, right?
Yeah, one of the things that caught a lot of drivers out, not a lot, but I would say about a handful, was squish. They were checking squish right after qualifying. Jake Drew was one of them. They caught a couple of drivers in the shifter ranks as well. I think Nick Firestone was one of them in Shifter Master, also in Mini and Micro as well. So I thought Drew was top qualifier, but I was mistaken. Sorry. So yeah, Soukas was actually the top qualifier. With Ryan Vincent in the second position, and let me double check, both drivers were on the VLR engine.
So Vincent was as well.
Yes, Vincent was as well.
Again, that's some of the transition we're seeing. Challenging the Americas making a change for this year. I believe the VLR is 10 pounds lighter. Is that the case, David?
That is correct.
Yeah.
It gives the opportunity for drivers who are a little bit lighter to want to run that engine package, and some drivers actually prefer that to continuing to add ballast to their carts. So yeah, the VLR is at 350 pounds with the EKN 100 at 360 pounds in the senior 100cc division.
So on the VLR 100, Kyriakos Soukas ends up qualifying on the pole. His Alex Keys Racing teammate Jacob Hoover wins the pre-final. Both those drivers on the EOS chassis. The disqualification to Drew with the squish kind of dialed things in and gave me something to talk about most definitely on the broadcast. He ends up going from the tail of the field up into 7th in the pre-final. But then in the main event, David, that's when things started getting good. Drew was on his way forward and ended up, as you said, getting to the P1.
Yeah, Josh Campbell was actually jumped up and was among the top contenders and actually led for a good portion of the main event. But it was actually Drew that scored or led the main course of the main event and was able to kind of get away towards the final laps of the race to drive to a 1.8 second victory. Soukas ended up finishing in second ahead of Hoover. Liam Lech drove up to 4th with Cole Schrader in the 5th position as Josh Campbell fell down the order in the last lap of the race.
Bonus point for fast time in the Saturday race for 100cc senior went to Ryan Vincent on the EOS for Nash Motorsports. Moving to Sunday, new man on top in qualifying, Cole Schrader dropped the hammer in the Ryan Perry Motorsports Tony Kart. He ends up going P1. Once again, in the pre-final, Jake Drew on the GFC showed what he had, got himself up for another race win to give him the pole for the main event.
Yeah, it was wire-to-wire wins in the pre-final for Drew, and then once again in the final, leading all 20 laps for the main event. That was again, drivers battling for the second position, again, allowed him to just continue to stretch out to a big lead, got out to a 2.9 second advantage when the checkered flag flew.
Yeah, 20-lap main events for the senior categories, and this one was essentially over by by corner 4 of the first lap, because Drew, of course, gets a good run, comes out of 1, nice and clean through the chicane 2 and 3. He gets through 4 cleanly. Everybody behind him, second to whatever, 8th, 9th, they were like 3 wide coming out of turn number 4. Big dive bomb moves. As soon as that happened, I want to say it was it was over a second, I think, the gap, like 1.2 or something, the first time by the stripe for Drew. They battled behind him, and he just put his head down and drove away.
Yeah, not to mention there was a number of drivers involved in contact in the opening corner, and then I believe turn 4 brought, collected a couple others as well. So a lot of hustling and bustling in the opening lap allowed Drew to get away quickly, and then again racing behind him allowed him to stretch it out even further over that 20 lap period.
Yeah, it was a good battle for second and third and fourth. Everybody, of course, scrapping it out for the final positions on the podium. Ryan Vincent, who had been quick throughout the weekend in the Nash machine, ends up finishing second. Kiriako Sukas, another podium. Just a good overall weekend for Kiriako. Hoover ends up in fourth. Liam Lech back to fifth again. So a couple of top fives for Liam Lech on the GFC. Sukas with the fast time as well. More bonus points, like you said, David, 52.107. So Sukas with a second and a third. Bonus points for fast time, and the bonus points for qualifying pole on Saturday. Although Drew with the big wins in both main events, Sukas closer, gathering as many points as he possibly can for those that are all those points that are available.
Yeah, and that's something we'll talk a little bit about during the outlap next month, or I guess really 1, 2, 3 weeks from now that we'll talk about when we head into the Phoenix event. But we'll kind of do a little bit more of a breakdown on the points for that show.
Yeah, I'm trying to pop the points up right now real quick here. And I know we'll definitely jump
into
it.
Don't talk about it. Save it. Don't talk about it.
I want to talk about it. All right.
You got to save it. You can't give everybody everything right now. Come on now.
All right, let's move into the Junior 100cc. Here's the headline. Gonzalez and Lambert split wins to take first victories of 2022.
Well, as we mentioned during By the Numbers, I said Junior 100cc was probably one of the most competitive classes of the weekend, that and Mini Rock. So again, every session this category went on track. We weren't quite sure who was going to come out on top. Qualifying ended up being Charlie Smith on the Nash Motorsports EOS chassis, setting fast time in that session, but it was Steven Eisert, a winner from last year's category or last year's program, winning the pre-final. The main event ended up being basically a 3-driver battle at the front of the field, included Eisert, Gonzalez, and Parker DeLong, who finally got up to challenge for the top spot. A little bit of last lap contact between Gonzalez and DeLong that allowed Eisert to kind of come through and kind of break them, get in the middle of those two as they made their way through the S's. DeLong ended up leading, heading down the long back straightaway, went on the defensive. It looked like Eisert thought he could get through on the inside, but there wasn't enough room and nearly basically just drove off at the end of the straightaway. That allowed DeLong to come back through, but it also allowed Gonzalez the opportunity to pull the over-under. And then as they went down the final straight, it was a drag race to the line with Alexander Gonzalez able to cross the line just ahead of Parker DeLong.
Keep going.
But it was a penalty for DeLong during that last lap contact in turn 5 that actually dropped DeLong from the second position down to the 5th spot. So that moved Cooper Auclair up into the second position with Tristan Young finishing in 3rd on the VME cart, and then Christian Cameron 4th in the final order after DeLong was moved back to 5th.
Fast time, David. Give me the update on this. You got Smith and Lambert with a 52.5. Was that actually? Did they both actually have the same fast time?
Same fast time for two different drivers in the main event. This is something I never had seen before, so I wanted to make sure the ruling on how all of this was called. So the driver who posted the fast lap first, that is the driver who receives the championship bonus points. So
wow, okay.
So since Lambert was able to clock in that fast lap first, he was provided with the bonus points for the fast lap.
Wow, okay, that's interesting for sure. Moving into Sunday, Christian Cameron coming out of the gate strongly, 4th on Saturday, as you said, ends up qualifying on the pole, and then goes to win the pre-final as well.
Yeah, started the day out great. Looked like he was going to possibly be the driver to beat. Unfortunately, he was shuffled back in the opening laps of the race. And again, I want to say the lead group was maybe about 7 drivers at one point.
I think so.
So a number of different drivers jostling for the top position. Not really anybody clear cut as the favorite as the race went on. But as the race went on, there was one driver that you can't miss because it was the yellow and black, and it kept moving up, and that was Preston Lambert. Started from the 7th position, was again moving up, and got up towards the front with Alexander Gonzalez and Parker DeLong. Lambert actually ended up grabbing the lead on the white flag lap. A little bit of racing for the 2nd position as they began their final circuit, allow Lambert to kind of cruise and get away and escape all the racing and lead that final lap unchallenged and be able to score his first series victory carrying the iconic Trek Magic brand.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I was kind of following Lambert coming through. It was a really methodical advance. Was from P7, from 7th, started working his way forward. He was just taking them one at a time, taking his time, great passes. Again, the track at Tucson, as I've said before, a lot of opportunities to overtake. He just slowly worked his way forward. That last lap pass, I don't know that I ever called one like this for at least for the race win on the outside of turn number 5. It was, I believe was it on DeLong or on Gonzalez, David? Do you remember?
Yeah, you're right. I've completely forgot about that. I was standing right there. It was as they were coming to the white flag, it was through turn 5. DeLong went on the defensive, and Lambert just said, forget it. I'm going to go to the outside. And he pulled the cold trickle move and just went around on the outside. Yeah. It held on through the exit, and he was right there. And that slowed DeLong's pace as he ran the defensive line. So he couldn't quite get the exit he wanted to. And Lambert went to the S's with all the momentum and speed and was able to gap him a little bit there. And then again, DeLong got challenged for that 2nd position as they went into turn 1 on the last lap. And again, it was very similar to what we saw at the Super National with Brian Norberg. The doors kind of opened up and Norberg took him. Where here, the doors kind of opened up and Lambert kind of took him. It wasn't, again, he didn't have the quickest cart out on the racetrack, but he took advantage of the opportunities that presented themselves and was able to, again, make that phenomenal move around the outside.
Well, and here a move like that in turn number 5 takes two things. Number one, DeLong was running the defensive line. We've seen that many times. Most drivers will try an over-under. Instead, Lambert rolls into the corner, gets to the bite on the outside. They're side by side around the corner. From there, it's the race to turn 6, right? Who owns the apex of 6, which is the entry into the S's, the 6, 7, 8, 9. He was able to, and it was full commitment. He said, I'm going for it. He sends it into 6, right? He took it. He literally just set it into 6, got himself in the right spot for 7, so he wasn't behind on the S's. You don't always get behind on all the apexes. It was a beautiful pass, got the job done, and gets the victory. A good battle, of course, with, DeLong got slowed up, like you said. Gonzalez was in there. We did have a fight in the last corner, David, for the 3rd position, final position on the podium as well.
Yeah, let me finish up the Lambert thing. Yeah, he just, it was all about the momentum. He got to the exit point out of turn 5 before DeLong could. Yep. And again, that especially in these 100cc categories, it's all about momentum, keeping that momentum up. And boom, he was, never lifted and just got to the exit point alongside DeLong. And I don't think DeLong was going to think he was going to be there. And so we basically had to turn right even more to avoid from making contact with Lambert on that exit point there. And then, from there, he won the drag race to turn 6 easily with all the momentum on his side. But again, all the jostling behind him began in turn 1 and went all the way up until the last corner of the race where, Steven Eisert made a bold move, basically jumping the curb in the final corner, and that collected John Antonino. Those two went off, nearly hit me. I was standing right there. I was trying to get the photo, but when I saw them coming at me, I actually took evasive maneuvers. And
you made the correct decision.
Unfortunately, both went off. Antonino went around and sat in the middle of the racetrack, hoping nobody hit him. Thankfully, nobody did. Eisert sat on the outside trying to get his cart restarted and wasn't able to do that until everybody passed through. But Again, a wild finish at the in the final corner that allowed Gonzalez to go through to the line for third, Cooper Auclair into the fourth position, and then Christian Cameron, who had the bad luck early on, able to get a top 5 after all that.
Yeah, a lot of action on the final circuit. Steven Eisert eventually got that fast lap, but again, the contact between he and Antonino dropped them down the order. All in all, some exciting racing. And again, we posted this to our both the EKN Facebook and Instagram page, David. Fantastic look at the celebration for Preston Lambert after he came across the scales. Made weight, came in, Gary Carlton up there to give him a huge hug, into the team, up on the shoulders. It was really cool to see the entire GFC team kind of rally around Preston Lambert after that victory.
Well, when you get a big win like that, your first big win, that's the celebration you want to see. That's what you want to enjoy and have logged in your memories forever.
All right, folks, to the break in the action. When we get back, we'll have Masters 100cc, Masters Rock. We'll do a quick wrap of Junior Rock as well. Don't go anywhere. More of this EKN debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Spec Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. And the all-new IgniteKarting.com website provides you with the information you need to fuel your passion for kart racing. Ignite Karting is a spec kart that features the Margay racing chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and a Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the junior, senior, and masters classes utilize the same Ignite K3 kart, which puts all the emphasis squarely on the driver. You can race the Ignite package from Margay at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for 2021 include the Ignite Majors, featuring events at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Quincy Grand Prix, and Newcastle Motorsports Park. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regional-based Ignite Challenge Series at tracks in Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois. Local club programs have been established in Idaho, Texas, Nebraska, New York, Ohio, and Florida. All the information that you're looking for on events throughout the country and on all the Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, is available at IgniteKarting.com. Get off the couch and on the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief as we do the race report on the opening round of the Challenge of the Americas, which took place this past weekend here at the end of January 2022 at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole in the online EKN studio. Our race report brought to you by Parolin USA. David, let's have a look at the Masters 100cc class, a category, as we talked about in the intro, that is growing here in the Challenge of the Americas. But some great racing, a lot of good storylines. Here's your headline. Kunchez takes first victories at Challenge of the Americas Series.
And again, like we talked about, this Masters 100cc category is bringing a number of drivers in, and it's one of the more competitive categories. Even though we had a driver score 2 victories on the weekend, it was pretty much anybody's game throughout the weekend. Kunchez actually was the top driver in qualifying and winning the pre-final. was a little bit challenged in the main event by David Pregande, a Masters driver doing double duty, making his first start in the 100cc division at the Challenging Americas. He actually jumped out to a pretty good lead and was leading the way. Kunchez was right there, Harrelson, along with Preston Newberry as well. But Pregande was unable to keep Kunchez behind him. Tried a defensive line a few times and made it really hard for Kunchez to get by. But on lap 15 was able to do that and pull off the pass for the lead. And then from there, leading the rest of the way to the checkered flag for his first series victory. Pregande ended up finishing in the second spot, with Brett Harrelson rounding out the podium in the third position.
Yeah, Harrelson was pretty quick, put in the fast time as well to get those bonus points late in the race. Mike Weatherman, who came in to play here this year, was able to put a program together, was really strong in Friday practice. On Saturday, had some issues in the pre-final, dropped him to the tail of the field after some contact. He fought his way back up to P4, so overall a good recovery for Weatherman. Preston Newberry as well, very strong. As part of the crew at Forward Direction Motorsports, Kunchez, Weatherman, and Newberry all running under the Forward Direction Motorsports tent. Newberry was fast, as we said, ends up getting a P5, top 5 in the opening day. He'd come back, though, David, on Sunday. Newberry actually in qualifying, dropping down top time, qualified on pole for the pre-final.
He was actually fast driver in the last session on Friday as well. Yeah. So we got to publish a photo of him on Friday. We weren't doing that for qualifying, but he did come out and set a good fast time in qualifying. Again, it was Newberry leading the way early in the pre-final. Kunchez was there. Pregande was there as well. Kunchez actually took over the lead, and I want to say Newberry was second. Was looking at trying to make a pass back on Kunchez, but Newberry got a little bit sideways, ended up spinning right in front of Pregande. Pregande had nowhere to go. That collected the two of them in the pre-final. That essentially allowed, in turn 4. That allowed Kunchez to kind of drive away to the win in that race.
Let me add. I think what I saw there was Kunchez had made the pass, and then Newberry was kind of trying to dive it in there and just touched. Like, you're on the limit coming through 4, right? Just touched the front, and the rear thing started to rotate, and of course sliding back up the racetrack on the outside of the corner. Pregande with nowhere to go. Both those drivers went out. You're right.
Yeah, so that had both of those guys starting from the back in the main event, where Kunchez was out front and was able to kind of get away early in the main event. He was able to lead wire to wire for his second victory of the weekend. Weatherman ended up driving to the second position, with Pregande and driving up to third, Newberry following him in fourth. That dropped Harrelson back down to the fifth position, but it was good racing for second, third, fourth, and fifth throughout that main event.
For a little bit there, I thought Mike Weatherman may have been able to chase down Kunchez. He was putting in some really good laps, wasn't able to keep the pace up. He just has not been behind the wheel in a while. Doesn't have the most recent seat time, but otherwise a good run for Weatherman. I did think, though, that we could see a challenge up front.
Yeah, it could have happened. But unfortunately, Kunchez was just pretty consistent with his lap times and didn't really make any mistakes. Weatherman wasn't able to gain even more than what he did, and then was able to lose and lost a little bit of ground towards the end. But again, Pregande actually ended up finishing with fast time of the race, so he got bonus points there. So he was the quickest driver out on the racetrack, coming from the back towards the front and getting back on the podium for a second time on the weekend. So, all in all, good time for Weatherman getting on the podium on Sunday. Good to see Pregande again on the podium both days, along with Kunchez. And again, Newberry and Harrelson, this is going to be a good championship battle. That's something we talked to a bunch of them about Sunday after the podiums. Is this will probably ended up being a good championship battle.
I agree. I 100% agree. There's, again, different racetracks, right? Some guys are good at a flowing track like Tucson. Then we go to the tighter Phoenix, then back to Sonoma. I think this will be a good championship all the way through to the very end. One championship that may not quite be as good, just based on the way this guy came out of the gate, was Masters Rock. Here's the headline for the Masters category of Rock: Picture perfect weekend for Wang.
It certainly was. Never put anything wrong. The only time I think he was pressured was when Billy Cleveland nearly took him out trying to pass Paul Bonilla during the pre-final on Saturday. That was really the only challenge that Derek Wang felt all weekend long. Saturday, perfect score, setting fast time in the qualifying, winning the pre-final, and then leading every lap of the main event, along with posting fast time of the race. So driving away to 11-second margin of victory. And part of the reason for that big gap was, again, contact on lap 2. So it was the main event, sorry, not the pre-final, that Billy Cleveland nearly took out the entire field. Cleveland made a bold move on lap 2 into turn 1 on Paul Bonilla, got a little bit of sideways, and Bonilla got collected along with David Pregande coming in, having nowhere to go, and hit both of those guys pretty hard, essentially taking the wind out of him. And so he had to sit out the rest of the race trying to collect his breathing back, and was not good. So that really gave Wang a full clean slate to an 11-second advantage. But that allowed Christopher Mann to come up and drive to the second position. Bonilla was able to continue, and he fought his way back up into the third spot ahead of Mike Giles, with Luke Tracy finishing in the fifth spot.
Yeah, Derek Wang with a perfect weekend, as we said, sweeps the qualifying, pre-final, and final fast time in both days. On Sunday, came out and did exactly the same thing. Main event, pretty much the same as well, 4.9-second victory over Billy Cleveland. No issues for Cleveland on Sunday. He slotted into second and did his best to chase Wang. He was the second fastest guy on the racetrack. Chris Mann pushed him and hung with him for a majority of the race, but Cleveland pulled away enough to grab second. Pregande again back into the fourth spot. Mike Giles ends up P5. A couple of top fives for Mike Giles. Both Paul Bonilla and Luke Tracy, David, not making it to the finish.
Yeah, mechanical issues for both of those guys. So that helped kind of shuffle up the order in the top 5 to wrap up the weekend.
Well, and we'll wrap up this particular segment of this EKN debrief with talking about Tristan Young, only driver in the Junior Rock category. They ran Tristan with the Masters drivers. He went out and didn't turn every lap, came in. Again, Tristan, the only entry in the Junior Rock category, is going to win that ticket if he keeps running the series, right, to go to the Rock Cup Super Final. Shame not to see more drivers in Junior Rock, but Tristan Young did, of course, get both victories there uncontested.
Yeah, again, defending class champion, so going for a second championship title in this division.
Yeah, thankfully running the 100cc junior so he can at least come and get some track time.
Yeah, got 3 trophies out of it. Ended up finishing on the podium one day in junior 100cc and winning both days, obviously, in Junior Rock.
And we will wrap up our race report presented by Parallel USA when we get back after this break. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com.
Located in Mooresville, North Carolina, on-site at GoPro Motorplex, Kartsport North America features over 6,000 square feet of retail space. Along with being the official race team and distributor for the Kart Republic chassis, they offer full retail sales, kart service and storage, and products from the top brands in the sport, such as CZ Chain, Talon Sprockets, SKF Bearings, and Prisma Tire Gauges. If you want to take your racing to the next level, they also offer driver training and coaching programs available trackside at GoPro Motorplex. They have a massive inventory, so head to their online store at kartsportna.com to get same-day shipping of the parts and components that you need. While you're there, check out their used section of karts, engines, parts, and accessories. Kartsport North America, top quality products, winning brands, and professional driver development services.
Back here for the EKN Debrief. We'll cap off our race report brought to you by Parolin USA. Again, talking about the opening round of the Challenge of the Americas for 2022 at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. We'll hit up the cadet categories right now. Mini Rock and Micro Rock, they all ran together on the racetrack. Let's start with Mini Rock. Here's your headline. Korn and Woon each earned first triumph in Mini.
Yeah, the Mini Rock, as we talked about during By the Numbers, probably had the best racing out of all weekend long. Just great. A lot of different drivers in the mix, particularly three drivers that really kind of stood out, especially on Saturday. Had Gage Korn, Turner Brown, and Matteo Quinto leading the way in that. It was actually Nico Serfati scoring fast time in qualifying, just didn't quite have the luck with him the rest of the weekend. That was his only shining moment of the weekend as Gage Korn came up and won the pre-final. Great battle, again, through those top three in the main event. Korn was able to grab the lead right before the white flag and was able to escape with the victory, driving to the checker flag by 0.3 of a second ahead of Turner Brown with Matteo Quinto in the third spot. Ashton Woon ended up finishing in fourth spot with a Jackson Porter driving up to fifth. Porter actually driving up through the field after getting a disqualification in qualifying for squish. So a good drive through the field by Jackson Porter.
Yeah, excellent run for Gage Korn in the Race Factory Delta Sport machine. Big win for Korn, big win for the Race Factory crew as well. Race Liberante, of course, on hand with a good contingent of drivers in the Race Factory colors. Turner Brown getting the fast lap, 56.264. He'll bank those bonus points. Of course, this is going to be, I think, a season-long battle here for the championship in the Mini Rock category here in the Challenge of the Americas. Brown, as we said, quickest in the race, fast time, came out on Sunday, David, kept that speed up, qualifies on the pole, although Korn was able to grab the pre-final victory.
Yes, he was kind of similar to what he did on Saturday. It looked like it was going to be a similar fight for the race win in the main event. Unfortunately for Gage Korn, it was a meatball flag after the opening couple of laps with a broken rear bumper. That forced him to pull off into the pit lane and, again, recording a DNF for the main event. That kind of essentially opened up, I want to say it was about 5 drivers battling for the win in the remainder of the main event. Number of drivers, including Brown, Quinto. Woon was in the fight along with Jackson Porter and Braylon Underwood as well, making up the 5 drivers fighting for the lead. But it was Woon who looked like he was a driver to beat, kind of moved his way up forward, got into the lead. They shuffled around a little bit more as well after that, but coming just prior to the white flag was able to grab the lead. And then similar to what we saw with a couple of categories, they started fighting for that second position, and that allowed Ashton Woon to drive away and escape with the lead and then drive off to the checker flag for his first victory in the Mini Rock division in his first weekend in that category.
Yeah, Quinto ended up finishing in second spot. Braylon Underwood for Race Factory coming from deeper in the field to finish third. I think it was a tough one for Turner Brown because had he and Gage Korn, because they had pulled away. They were running 1-2. They got away from the battle early, and I want to say it was about a second and a half. They were, they had built that gap. Yeah. They were working together. Well, the minute that Gage Korn got the meatball flag for the broken bumper, that left Turner Brown out there by himself. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all lined up, reeled them in. And I honestly think Brown and Korn would have fought for the race win. Didn't happen that way. Brown ends up finishing in the fourth spot as a result, kind of got swallowed up in that group. And then at that point, you're in the cage match to see where you finish. And David as well, another top 5 for Jackson Porter.
Yeah, last year's Micro Rock champion moving up this weekend to the mini ranks and coming away with some good results and probably gained a lot of experience. Again, racing, he raced with Woon last year, but, racing with Korn and Underwood and Underwood actually is another micro graduate as well. So some of the young drivers showing the way in the Mini Rock division.
Quinto ended up with the fast time, those bonus points there. All in all, I think we're gonna have a tremendous battle in the championship in this category. Now, let's go to Micro Rock. And here's the interesting thing. Well, I'll throw the headline in, then I'll give a little lean in for you. Here's the headline. Hodge debuts with double win weekend. And a little bit before David jumps in, they run Micro Rock with Mini Rock on the racetrack, kind of a cadet grouping. Kason Hodge, who ends up dominating the weekend. He was like right in the middle of the top 10, battling with the mini drivers all weekend.
Yeah, it finished top 10 in every single session, I want to say, on the weekend. So certainly showed the pace throughout the weekend to be, certainly among the top micro drivers in the country right now. Driving, finishing 7th in the main event on Saturday, driving to a 19-second advantage over Luca Popescu. Right? Popescu.
Yeah, Lucas directed me on the podium.
Popescu, okay. Julian Sanchez finishing third with Sloan Dozois in the fourth spot. So 4 drivers in the micro field, and really Hodge was kind of in a different area code than the rest of them throughout the weekend. As I said, finishing 7th in the main event on Saturday overall with the Mini Rock division as well. And then did the same thing on Sunday. He was actually trailing the lead group all race long in the main event. And because Porter went off in the last corner, he actually finished 5th overall in the mini micro race group.
Yeah, it ended up being Hodge, Popescu, Dozois, and Sanchez, the top 4 on the final. Sanchez not getting to the finish with a broken fairing. Otherwise, Hodge with a fast time in both races, just really strong out of the gate. We'll see what happens when we get to Phoenix, whether or not things tighten up a little bit. But Kason Hodge will definitely have a driver that we'll be watching throughout the 2022 season. So that wraps things up for our race reports. When we get back after this final break, we'll wrap things up. We'll have a look at the Constructors' Championship, and we'll look at the EKN Trackside Live race calendar to see where we'll be in the month of February. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA Super Nationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power your engine has to get you on the podium each and every time. Odenthal Racing Products provide the best motor mounts in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Our newest product is the Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, available in 0, 5, and 8 degree angles, providing a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a medium with fins underneath to help dissipate heat off the engine. Our 4-cycle EZ set is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, ORP wedge clamps get the job done, featuring a number of updates to its design for a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro sizes. Head to OdenthalRacing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. Welcome back to the EKN Debrief podcast as we wrap things up here for this edition, as we took a good look, our race report at the Challenge of the Americas opener at Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Opening couple of rounds were fantastic. David, let's wrap things up for this edition of the podcast. Super windy on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Calmed down a little bit on Sunday, thankfully. Temperatures were pretty good. A little chilly in the morning, but, otherwise midday really good. Right. Just beautiful Tucson weather on Sunday especially, but it was sunshine and blue skies all weekend.
And at night when the sun went down, it was a little bit chilly there Sunday night and Saturday night. But that's what you expect in Tucson in January, where we've seen things freeze overnight. So it wasn't too bad. But again, for the time the time of year that we were there, I think it was great weather.
One of the things we always wait for at the end of the day and then the end of the weekend, because you never want to jinx anything, but no red flags throughout the weekend already. Drivers seem to have some respect for a good level of respect. A lot of hard racing. We talk about no red flags. They happen every once in a while because racing to a certain extent still is a bit of a contact sport. Guys make mistakes. You make over-aggressive moves. But in the end, there were no red flags whatsoever. Everybody was clean and green through the end. So that was a big thing for me, I think, David. I always like it when we don't have any red flags.
Yeah, I think turn one at Tucson certainly provides the opportunity for cleaner starts because we have all that runoff access room in the cut through that they have connected to turn one there. So it gives you a lot of room. So you're not funneled in like a lot of racetracks that we go to have the opening corner. So that helped, keep things pretty much clean through the main events and pre-final starts. But and again, aside from that, no major issues throughout the weekend.
One of the things we did see is multiple double winners to open the season. You see some of the top contenders in the championship. Double wins for Wick, for Drew, McNeil, Wang, Kunches, Hodge. I wasn't, knowing the level of the competition we had in some of these categories, in the rock shifter class, in the seat and the master shifter. I didn't expect to see this many double winners, but we did. Guys that were quick were able to back it up on Sunday.
Yeah, you're correct. It's not an easy thing to come back and win the following day because competitors know what, the pace they need to be at. And sometimes they'll find that extra speed overnight or the racing gods just happen to go your way and not that competitor's way. But yeah, this weekend having that many double winners is truly an odd occasion.
Dave, let's look at the Constructors' Championship right now. 9 different brands scoring wins, 18 in total. Track Magic leading the way with 3 victories. When was the last time we said that?
I don't think we've ever said that, Rob, because we didn't have a podcast back in the 90s.
Wow, Track Magic, 3 victories. Incredible.
Yeah, so Track Magic scoring 3 victories. EOS actually scoring 3 victories as well. 2 of them with Derek Wang and the other with Alexander Gonzalez. And then we get into our double winners with Illuminos and Jimmy McNeil, Comp Kart with Ian Kunches, Esprit with Kason Hodge, and then, of course, GFC with Jake Drew, and then VME Kart with Tristan Young in the Junior Rock division.
You got Parolin and Race Factory as well. Parolin for Ashton Woon, Race Factory for Gage Korn. All in all, I'll say this, a pretty good weekend for GFC. They're focused big time on this Challenge of the Americas. 5 wins in total, David, under their camp. But they GFC swept in 100cc senior. They swept in rock shifter, and the win for Preston Lambert in 100cc senior. So really, to be honest, if you look at the layout, JFC wins both the headline classes in the 100cc senior and the rock shifter.
Yes. It's kind of what we've seen over the many, or the 90 different podcasts we've done where we talk about all the different OTK brands. Well, now we have 2 GFC brands.
Yeah, that's right. This kind of caught me there. 90 podcasts. I said it was episode 90. We'll be at our 100th podcast before the end of the season for this debrief. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it goes back to, was it the 2017 Super Nationals? Is that our first one?
Yeah. All right, folks. Speaking of our EKN Trackside Live and where we do these podcasts, let's have a look at the race calendar. This one brought to you by Leading Edge Motorsports. Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer to winning in karting. At the helm is industry veteran Greg Bell, who has orchestrated the success of countless drivers dating back to the mid-1990s. Leading Edge Motorsports is the West Coast importer and factory team for IP Karting, which manufactures the ultra-competitive Praga and Formula K chassis brands. In 2022, Leading Edge will be trackside at the SCUSA Pro Tour, Florida Winter Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, Stars Championship, California Pro Kart Challenge, and high-profile Rock Cup USA events. Contact us today to book your spot under the tent. Visit leadingedgemotorsports.com for more info or find them on Facebook and Instagram. At Leading Edge Motorsports, winning never gets old. Well, David, two of our trackside coverages coming in February, just over a week's time, February 11th, 12th, and 13th. We'll be back trackside at the Superkarts USA Winter Series at AMR Homestead in Homestead, Florida. It's not our live deal because we're not solely on EKN with our Trackside Live program. You'll be doing all the coverage that we do. I'll be joining Xander Clements as well on the Kart Chaser Live video broadcast. We'll still run that audio, though, through our EKN Live package.
Yeah, through the EKN Live page, along with our EKN Radio Network app. We had a number of people tuning in on the EKN Radio Network app for this past weekend for the Challenge in Americas, and so we'll continue to do that. Again, provides you an easier and quicker opportunity to catch the action happening trackside wherever we are.
Also planning another one of our tent talks for Florida and the next challenge as well, I believe. What were we looking at for the SCUSA race? I think we're going to do Parallel USA.
I believe so. That's looking like the optimal tent that we'll be talking in and getting the information and updates from Parallel USA on what's happened up until this point and what's going into the future for Parallel USA in 2022.
Yeah, looking forward to sitting down with Yannick Rowland and the crew there at Parallel USA. Later in the month, we'll be back for a full EK and Trackside Live program. Back to the Challenge of the Americas, February 25th to the 27th at the Phoenix Kart Racing Association in Glendale, Arizona. I actually won't be trackside for that one. I'll be at the opening round of the Road to Indy and IndyCar in St. Petersburg. Tim Chappie Chapman will be back on the mic there, David. But back to Phoenix, it'll be a full EK and Trackside Live program. Looking forward to seeing what happens in rounds 3 and 4. I will be watching and listening intently, watching all the live stuff, and of course on the social media to find out what happens. After this past weekend, I'm going to be really interested in seeing who's fast in Phoenix.
Again, yeah, even though it's in the same state, they are two different racetracks for sure. Yeah. Where Phoenix is, as you said, a bit tighter, a bit narrower, not as flowing. And they do have that long back straight, but a lot of technical corners in Phoenix. And again, we'll see if drivers are able to take what they did in Phoenix or in Tucson and be able to continue that in Phoenix, or drivers are going to get better heading into Phoenix. And that, again, will change up championship contenders, championship chases, and who will actually end up on top of the podium both days in Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. Obviously, a strong debut for 2022 for the Challenge of the Americas. Shout out to Andy Saisman and his full crew. Again, 132 entries they had locked in. A couple of guys didn't show. Ended up with 129 total. I expect to see probably 140 or more at Phoenix. I think there's going to be a lot of great race. That track it's not as wide open and racy as Tucson, but there's lots of places to pass. A little more technical, like you said, David. I think the weekend at PKRA is going to be a lot of fun. Midway through the championship battle, it's always kind of that change of who steps up, who takes the push to be able to be ready to challenge for a championship when we get to Sonoma. But I'll tell you, it should be some great racing there. End of February, EKN Trackside Live once again. Back to battle it out in Phoenix. Let's wrap things up here, folks, today. Again, big thank you to the sponsor of the broadcast today, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. If you're looking for some training to get your driver a little bit better, a little more dialed in to go national or regional racing, whatever it may be, or even if you're a brand new driver and you want to kind of, quicken up that learning curve, smooth it out a little bit, think about the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Otherwise, that wraps things up for this edition of the EKN Debrief podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on our deep dive into the opening round of the Challenge. We'll be back again with more of that. We'll get our Outlap podcast coming for the Superkarts USA Winter Series finale next week. Lots more to come here on the EKN Radio Network. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.